Is this the week Haaland's benched? And if so, who do we captain? Welcome to my new YouTube show. There's lots going on in FPL. As always, it's a fast turnaround. And we do have fixtures coming thick and fast for Man City. And what that means is we could see benchings to Haaland, Grealish, some popular FPL assets. We've already seen Ederson suffer from a little bit of rotation because Real Madrid fixtures are coming up very, very soon. And the recovery time is short. Will we be able to act? Because I think we will be able to act because Man City are playing in the first round of fixtures at the 3 o'clock kickoff and the FPL deadline is 1:30, and Man City are notoriously one of the teams that we see leaks, legitimate leaks from. And if we see that before the deadline, let's say 1:20, and we've got 10 minutes to change our team, we need to know Haaland's benched, who are we going to give the armband to? Let's not have a rush then and there. Let's plan in advance. So why do we think there could be benchings? Let's look at the Man City fixtures first and foremost. So this Saturday, it's game week 35 for City. They play Leeds. Then on Tuesday, they play Real Madrid, their most important game of the season. The Champions League turnaround time, rather than Wednesday, Tuesday, 6 days apart, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, 8 days apart. That's good news for those of us that are wanting our Man City assets to play in the Premier League fixture, wedged in between that, which is game week 36 versus Everton. So I think the game week 36 fixture versus Everton, I think we're going to be all right, mostly. Like, maybe Haaland starts, he gets 60 if they're comfortable. But the game against Leeds this weekend, looking at the minutes Haaland and Grealish have had of late, I wouldn't be surprised to see a benching. Or maybe they start and they come off early if they're cruising. But we've got to be prepared. So, with that in mind, who do we like as other captaincy options this week? Now, this works for players you can buy this week, but captaincy options too. We're also going to check out some differentials as well. There's some good differentials this week, I promise you that. I might be buying one. We'll look at my team as always. And guys, thank you so much for liking and subscribing to the channel, by the way. It's awesome that you do that and really appreciate the support. So, options. We look at Liverpool because they play Brentford at home. We look at Brighton because they play Everton at home. And I think we could maybe consider Man United assets versus West Ham captaincy. So Liverpool, Salah's the obvious one. Trent, in this new position, is shooting on sight. If Liverpool keep a clean sheet against Brentford, there's a very good chance Trent gets bonus because his attacking numbers are so good. And also, he could have scored in the double game week. In fact, owners are a little bit unlucky he hasn't scored of late. I think a goal is due and the assist threat's always there. So Trent is genuinely an option. Salah looked good against Fulham. Still playing very wide, but yeah, we get that. The penalty appeal is there and he scored 2 in the double. Good to see him converting penalties. And you could go outside of that, Luis Diaz or Jota if he starts. But I think it's Trent and Salah mostly. What will the Brighton attack do against that terrible back line at home at the Amex? So your Brighton assets, I think, are a genuine option. And that's Rogue, but we like Rogue at this point in the season. This might be the time to go different. This might be the time to have a Hail Mary and just chase your mini league, right? And then you could look at, say, someone like Rashford and go, he's got West Ham away. I don't like backing against David Moyes and West Ham for goals conceded. I think on their day they're a good defence. And I don't know if Rashford's playing well enough or Man United are playing well enough necessarily to give you the armband there. So for me, it's Liverpool and Brighton are the two teams I'd be looking at. Foden, Mahrez, Alvarez. There's 3 for you just at Man City that come into the 11 and you go, they're playing Leeds. We're going to go for a 1-week punt. Now, Alvarez, for example, is 2.4% owned. Yeah, KDB, I think, will get minutes because he needs some minutes before Real Madrid. I think Pep will think that, but he can also play his roots to the team are the KDB role and the Haaland role. Could even play out wide. I don't think he will. Mahrez option. Again, I don't think he plays against Real Madrid. I think Bernardo Silva does. And Mahrez probably plays a Premier League game on the right. And then Foden comes on, scores. He won't be starting against Real Madrid, in my opinion. And therefore, Foden, for the Premier League games against both Leeds and possibly Everton, could be an option. So there's 3 good options at Man City. And again, we could get leaks there. I wouldn't be committing to any of these guys without a leak, by the way. Other options, though, we've got to talk Callum Wilson. We've got to talk Newcastle attack. Let's rewind a little bit and look before we delve into the numbers of Callum Wilson and why I think he's a better option than Isak. What do we know so far? Well, Eddie Howe has said Callum Wilson's doing great, but he said it's great I don't have to start him 2-3 times a week, because when that happens, he gets injured. And it's great that I've got this secondary option and he can come in and out the team and he's fresh and he's scoring goals. So we know he's not suitable to be starting 2-3 times a week consistently. But maybe towards the end of the season that can happen. What else do we know? He's not wanted to start on both, Eddie Howe. He doesn't want to start Isak and Wilson together. We see them play together in the second half of games at times. We rarely, if at all, have seen them start in the Premier League together. Now that's because Eddie Howe wants to play one number 9 and wide men either side, and he's considered Isak a central figure, same as Wilson. But what we've seen in the second half of a couple of games, including last time out, was Isak play left and Wilson central, and it's worked so well. And I wonder if we're now going to see them starting together. One, because it's working, but two, because Eddie Howe needs to know going into next season where he sees these guys playing together and if he sees these guys playing together, because he's going to have tons of money to spend. The transfer window matters and he needs to get those transfers right. But to evaluate who he needs to bring in, he needs to know if Isak and Wilson are going to be first choice 11 playing together. And if that's in a 2 up top or if that's in a 3 up top and Isak is wide. So again, I think we're going to see a little bit of an experiment. I'd like to think Eddie Howe will do that and use these games where the top 4's wrapped up and we can evaluate that best. So I would like to think there's a good chance both Wilson and Isak are starters. Again, I think Wilson's minutes has to be managed, and history tells us in the last few game weeks they have been managed. But let's look at the numbers as to why Wilson's the better option when they're on the pitch together. Last 6 game weeks, 8 goals, 1 assist. 16 shots, of which 8 of them were big chances, and he gets 8 goals. Now, the minutes are interesting. 309. It's not many, but he doesn't need many. And with that, he's getting bonus because he gets goals. 54 FPL points. It's really, really good. Him and Isak are similar price. But even with Wilson getting fewer minutes, at the moment, he feels like the better option. And this weekend, they play Arsenal. You might think it's a little bit too early to go on Newcastle. We'll compare the two properly in next week's show because everyone's going to be buying Newcastle forward next week because they've got the double. But at St James's Park this week, it's a good fixture against Arsenal. It really is, because Arsenal have played midweek. They have got Saliba, who we think is going to be out. Gabriel, who could be out. It could be Rob Holding and Kivior as centre-backs. And if it is, I fancy Wilson and Isak. Wilson got 45 last time out, so I think he starts versus Arsenal. But again, don't be surprised to see a benching. And don't be surprised to see if he starts, then maybe in the double game week, he just gets one of the two. Like, we all want Newcastle for that double in 36, and we go, Isak will start both them. Well, Leeds and Brighton in the double, you really want him versus Leeds in that first fixture, don't you? So it's a risky punt, but it's a punt I think that could be worth making even earlier. But give it the extra week against Arsenal, and you get an extra week's worth of data, you get an extra week's worth of eye tests. So I do appreciate and understand there are options here. You don't have to go early on Newcastle forwards, but it's a nice differential this week. So we've done Wilson, we've done all the Man City players, of which I mentioned 3. I just want to give a shout out to Heung-min Son. In the last, I think it's 8 game weeks, he's had 7 goal involvements. Goals and assists combined, 7 in the last 8. Pretty good for a team not performing well. Kane is deeper, Son is more advanced. He's on the last man. He's looking good. And when you look at the fixtures, he's playing teams like, I think it's Brentford, Villa, Palace, teams that don't have a huge amount to play for. Yeah, European football is being chased by a couple of them, and I think he's got Leeds on the final day with a relegation battle, but they could be done by then. And Palace this week certainly looks like a good fixture, is what I'm going to say. So don't completely rule out players like Son for a short-term punt if you're chasing, right? And mini league success is really important to many. So I look at those above you and go, they haven't got Son. Maybe that's my move. Maybe worth a punt. So differential focus was fun. And guys, I mentioned earlier, the likes and subscribes are awesome. Thank you for that. But I want to move now onto my team from the double just gone, but then also the game week ahead, because game week 35 is a single game week and we don't have another one of them till game week 38, a couple of doubles on the horizon. So without further ado, let's have a look at my team. 100 points plus is great, but everyone got 100 points plus because there was a ton of bench boosters. There was a ton of free hitters. There was quite a fair few on triple captain Haaland. There was loads on a wild card. And with all the chips in play, actually 100 isn't an amazing rank this week, score this week, which is a shame. But look, the players I sold performed, but the players I bought in performed. So I don't mind too much that Ake scored despite selling him, that Kane got good points despite selling him. It's allowed me to buy players like Trent, right? I needed the money to get Trent and a good buy there, and I think points are on the horizon. Jota's been so disappointing because the injuries, we didn't see that coming. We saw that he was flagged for game 1, but we thought he'd play game 2, and then he picked up another knock. for game 2 and he gets 7 measly minutes versus Fulham. And if he gets good minutes against Fulham, I think he gets me goals. Against Brentford this week, we don't know if Jota will even be fit. I think he picked up a knock during the game again. So probably a flag incoming for Jota. But elsewhere, my team, Estupiñán could have had goals. He's getting good points though, and I'm very happy with that. Grealish, again, hit the bar, shooting on sight. 7 is the worst case scenario we should have had from Grealish. Perhaps a little unfortunate there. So I look at my team and think more points are coming. I'm happy enough. But let's look now ahead. Oh, and by the way, Botman on my bench. I was never going to play him anyway, so whatever, I'm fine with that. Let's look now ahead. 35, normal game week. So where are we at? I guess my big decision at the moment is, do I start Trippier or Chilwell? At the moment, Chilwell is in. I think Chelsea will probably concede. But I think Trippier will almost certainly concede. And I'm just going against the percentage ownership and going, I'm chasing a little bit here. It's a bit different to go Chilwell. I don't think much splits them this week, put it that way. So I'm going off the lower owned player. Newcastle haven't kept a clean sheet in 13, by the way. And Arsenal, I'm confident Arsenal score. Trippier's attacking numbers have dipped, although his last time out he did clock an XGI of over 1. But other than that, it's been poor of late for Trippier. It's not been the early season form we've seen from him. So I'm going Chilwell. Kepa will definitely be benched. I like the hair in there. I do think I'll end up playing Trippier and Chilwell, by the way, because I think someone like a Grealish or a Haaland could be benched, and therefore we see that rotation. Likewise, I think Jota's a big risk again this week. And if I don't see Jota in training photos on Friday, or I don't see Jota being bigged up or spoken about in the press conference, I need Klopp to say he's training pretty much. I need Klopp to reassure me. Otherwise, I think I might have to sell Jota a week or two earlier than I wanted, and this might be my time to bring in that Newcastle forward. If I do sell Jota, I've got 2 options. I've got 3. I go Wilson or Isak. I think it's going to be Wilson. Or my other option away from Newcastle attack is, if we hear Alvarez is starting for Man City, perhaps I go for a short-term punt on Alvarez. I don't mind that move at all. I think I'd be converting that punt to a Newcastle asset a week later, though. That's the only issue with Alvarez there. So that's where we're at with my moves this week. Captaincy, if we feel like Haaland's not starting, I will very likely be going Salah. I think I'll be going safe. I love the Jota captaincy option, but I need to know he's 100% fit. And even if we know he was starting, there's a good chance he comes off injured now, knowing what Klopp has said. So with a heavy heart, I can't go too differential with captaincy, because I'd just go, why not? Let's go Jota instead of Salah. But I don't think I can do that this week. So I think it'll be Salah, if not Haaland. Again, I'm not going to exclude my Brighton assets from the captaincy discussion either, because I do think there's potentially a high ceiling there for the likes of Matoma. So maybe it'll be a Saturday morning call on that. But as I say, late team news will be central to everything this week, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show so far. But look, before you leave, if you want to drop a comment and ask me any questions, I respond to everything. And I love seeing your comments. And also, I've loved seeing all of you guys look at subscribing throughout the last, I think, 2-3 months this channel has been going now. So considering we're near the end of the season, I've been delighted with so many engaged viewers. So thank you for following my journey and liking and subscribing and commenting. And I'll see you again next week, where we'll be talking Newcastle, and hopefully we'll be talking about loads of big, fat, juicy green arrows. See you later, guys.